All right, Roland. We're here at the Bass Pro Shops Cabela's booth. We want to welcome everyone, Facebook Live, legendary Roland Martin. Now we're going to talk a little. We're going to talk a little bit in just a bit about some turkey hunting, some different things. Um, but I first want to talk about, nine-time Bass Angler of the Year. I know how competitive this can be and how difficult it is to win an Angler of the Year. But to do it 9 times, that's a model of consistency. What was your goal each year when the season started?
Well, Tim, you won Bass Angler of the Year on your rookie year.
Yeah.
The very first rookie year that you had, you came out like a house of fire. I remember I was fishing the trail then.
Yeah.
I was fishing that Elite Series, and boy, you came out with every gun ablazing. You did extremely well, and you know how it feels to beat the other 100 guys. I mean, that's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent, and I always felt, and as well as you well know, that if you're consistent on every tournament and do pretty well in every tournament, figure out the key patterns at every single tournament, and take a check in almost every tournament, you have an awful good chance of winning Bass Angler of the Year. But so many of the anglers are hot and cold. They'll have one specific technique like flipping, and that's all they can do, so they'll only do well in 1 or 2 or 3 tournaments. You have to be versatile, and you have to do well in every tournament.
Yeah, and you really termed the phrase pattern fishing, and figuring out, it never was intimidating to you to go to a lake you had never been to before, because you were really the first that used the term pattern fishing and how to go to a lake and be successful. Right. So do you think that has a lot to do with why you didn't have those real low finishes?
It really did. I got into this pattern by looking at the exact set of water and cover conditions, and from my scientific background a little bit in school, for example, I relied on a lot of things. I relied on good depth finders, good GPS coordinates, good contour maps, and I'd look at water temperature gauges, I'd look at pH meters, and so I was, in a way, a scientific fisherman. I was looking for all the conditions that would go into a pattern. And so when I'd catch a fish, just one single fish, I would really analyze that fish. I'd say exactly what's the depth, exactly what the proximity is to a depth break, or exactly where the cover is. And so I did all these things in search of trying to find that perfect pattern. And in doing so, I'd find 2 and 3 patterns a day. And by finding 2 or 3 patterns a day would allow me to win, or at least place high in almost every tournament.
Hey, I tell you, it's so cool. I like, we just had Bill Dance on a while ago, and just the energy that you guys have. And you can I can go back to think about you fishing 20, 30 years ago when you're winning all these Angler of the Years, and I guarantee you that was prevalent. Now, you were the first angler ever inducted into all 3 Hall of Fames, the right. Freshwater Hall of Fame, Professional Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, and the IGFA Hall of Fame. Tell me about that.
Well, actually, the IGFA Hall of Fame was always a saltwater deal.
Right.
And so they realized that bass fishing is a big deal, and they realized that people like Johnny Morris, myself, Ray Scott, these were all people that would represent the bass market really well. So I think I was inducted not so much for any other merit other than it was just representative of bass. They needed a bass guy.
Yeah.
And so they just came, and I'd been a saltwater fisherman. I think what helped me was I'd gone to a lot of the IGFA banquets, and I knew Mark Sosin, and I knew all the different people in IGFA because I'd participated with the saltwater part. And so I was like a perfect transitional person to come from the bass market because I'd done so much work with the saltwater market.
Right.
So that's kind of what got me there.
Yeah. I can relate to, we always talk about fishing and who was the first person that took you fishing and all of that. I grew up nothing but fishing. I never hunted at all. I never got in the woods at all. And I can remember we had a Bassmaster event that we were both competing in. It must have been 15 years ago. And you called me up and you said, Tim, I want to go turkey hunting. Do you know, you always, when it's the spring of the year, you got your camouflage and your shotgun with you. And I said, Roland, my grandfather has some property.
That's right.
And I said, come on and we'll go. I had never turkey hunted in my life. And did you know I live for that now in April? Think of it, 27 years old now and had never been hunting. This goes back to get your kids out hunting and fishing.
Oh, I know.
I had never done that. until I went and experienced that with you, and now I live in the woods in the fall, deer hunting and turkey hunting in the spring. I'm thankful to you for that.
We had quite an experience riding up and down those hills. I remember we called up several turkeys on top of the hill, and then we'd go down the valley and have something else happen, and it was just we ended up the end of the week. We both, you got a nice turkey at that
sure
time
did.
that week, and then I got one. I don't know. We had a great time.
Yeah.
But you fell in love with it. That one trip was enough to spark your interest in turkey hunting, and I guess now you just can't wait for the next season to come around.
We're planting chufa food plots and the whole deal, and I remember that morning. You and I had a tough hunt that morning, and we actually had 2 jakes come in just hammering. It was late in the season, so those jakes were really starting to gobble, and that was all it took. You know, and I tell people this all the time. We all know, like you were telling me the story of taking your grandson or grandson-in-law out fishing or out turkey hunting last week, and those experiences, you never know. We all have accessibility to take our kids and our grandkids. Tell them to invite folks, because you never know. Think about that situation. I had been an outdoorsman my whole life and had never hunted until I simply went turkey hunting with you, and then it was, you never know when it's going to light something, so it's pretty cool.
That turkey hunting with Tim Horton was a special experience, but you know what was equally as a good experience was the time we went and got those little threadfin shad.
Yes.
We threw the cast net. We were filming the whole thing at the upper end of Pickwick, and you put us on 2 6-pound smallmouth.
I remember that.
They were over 6 pounds, and we caught some other big ones as well. So that was really a good film.
Yeah, I love the stuff like that, the stories and the camaraderie of all of it. And talking of camaraderie, it's really cool to see what you and Jimmy and Bill have done as far as coming into television. I remember the old TNN Outdoor Days where it was you guys and Hank was mixed in with that as well. And just watching how you transcended your tournament careers into television and your association with Bass Pro Shops. I know you've worked with Johnny for a long time now. And to just see that happen. What is the biggest key that you enjoy in doing television and producing the television shows?
Well, I'm a teacher, Tim. I actually was a school teacher. I mean, I actually taught high school math. I taught algebra and general science in high school for a while. And then I was also an Army officer, and I taught rifle training in the military. And so throughout my teaching career, it's easy for me to instruct people or to talk to them in a how-to format. And I know in your television you do the same thing. I think probably our best suit for me and you is to tell people how to do something.
Right.
And it's easy for me to do because all I have to do is say there's an A, B, C, D to it.
Right.
And this is what we have to do to make it work. And so I'm a teacher at heart, and I enjoy helping people.
Right.
And it's got to come full circle. If you look at my turkey hunting, for example, this year I've been around 4 turkey kills. I only pulled the trigger on 1 turkey, but I was perfectly content in having these guys that have never shot a turkey. My son-in-law got his first turkey. I went with another lawyer in the Everglades, and he got a couple turkeys, and I called him in and stuff. So the point is, I don't have to catch the fish or kill the turkey. I can tell you how to do it, and I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. Hey, we got some, guys, feel free to bring some questions in if you've got a question for Roland Martin here. Obviously, we're Facebook Live. Going to be doing this stuff all weekend here for the Bassmasters Classic. Hey, I want to say hello on Facebook to Ken Rogers, Kay Van Zandt, James Merriman. Guys, tell what city you're from. This is really cool. I love the interaction of our fan base and everything that's going on. So just some real cool stuff. You got some questions? You want to bring one into Roland Martin? Ask it. We'll try to join in here. Steve is joining from Valatia Hills. That's probably in Florida or maybe California. I don't know. But Roland, you've lived in Florida a good part of your life.
Yeah.
You originally were a fishing guide on the Santee Cooper Lakes.
Right.
Is that correct?
Actually, I learned my ABCs at Santee Cooper, and it was so funny because right after my military career, I was down in Brazil for a while, and then I came back to Santee to guide all through the late 60s. And during that period of time, I was learning really how to catch and how to develop my patterns and how to catch bass. But Ray Scott would call back in '67. He'd say, Roland, why don't you come and fish our tournaments? And I'd say, no, I don't want to fool with your tournaments. And so I didn't, even though he called me for the very first tournament, because I'd been doing outdoor writing and I've been doing photography with other outdoor riders, and so I had a name for myself back in the late 60s at Santee, and so Ray Scott would try to get me to the tournaments, and I didn't want to go because I thought tournaments were a fluky thing. I didn't think that they were going to ever go anywhere. I didn't
That's
see
funny.
the vision that Ray Scott had.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until 1969 I went to a tournament and actually met Ray Scott person to person, and then he started infiltrating me with all this futuristic, like, what's Bass going to be in 20 and 30 and 40 years? And I'm telling you, I'm going back to 1970, but Ray Scott predicted what's happening today.
That's amazing.
It was like deja vu. I mean, Ray was talking about this giant arena. He was talking about what we see in the modern day Bass.
So in 1970,
40 years ago,
he was talking about
it.
an arena like this.
He
and
was
having an
talking
arena.
about the Bassmaster Classics, how it could be a big deal. He was talking about all these things that are actually happening now, not in specifically, but in general.
That's
It
so
could
cool.
get there.
That's so cool.
And
Hey,
Bass could, and the boats would evolve, and the tackle would evolve, all according to the way we determine.
I couldn't imagine coming to you guys and saying, hey, come and pay this entry fee. We're going to have this tournament, and we're going to build this into a national sport. I couldn't imagine the
When
the
I
thought
started fishing the
process.
tournaments, Tim, I was just 20-something years old, and I just fell in love with Ray Scott, and I fell in love with his vision of where Bass was going to go. And I said, I'm going to try to do as well as I can. I'm going to hitch my wagon to this whole deal, and I'm going to make a career out of this.
That's so
And
cool.
I mean, by following Ray Scott's rule, hey, build yourself a career, build yourself a notoriety, and then use that as a springboard of opportunity, like you've done, like Bill's done, like I've done. That's where it's all gone. We've built our credibility on the tournament success, and now we've gone ahead with
Well,
other endeavors, you know.
Hey, I would not have a career if it wasn't for what you guys did.
Yeah.
And just thankful. Hey, we've got this is pretty cool. We got a question for you. Sean Fletcher from St. Louis coming in. Hey, Sean. Lisa Hawks from Memphis. We've got a question. Roland, when did you start teaching your son Scott how to fish? Obviously, Scott
Well,
Martin, great
you know,
success.
I have to give my son Scott special credit because he has done so much on his own. He would get so upset when people would say, well, your daddy taught you how to do that. It's not the case. Scott takes special pride in doing things on his own.
Hey, in a lot of cases, you see a second generation kind of think that, hey, I'm going to get this on my own. That
He's
don't
done it
cut
on his
in
own.
this sport.
He doesn't want my credit. I mean, it kind of upsets him to say that he's my son and I've taught him everything, because that's not the case.
Yeah.
I haven't taught him everything.
If you're
He
not
has
working
learned it
hard,
himself.
yeah.
I mean, he really has.
Yeah.
But I've set the standard, and he sees where I can go, and he's trying to, like in a very friendly competition, he's trying to do better than I've done,
Yeah.
which I think he will do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's his desire as a son to do like
Hey,
your dad, but even do
I-
better
I-
than
I'm,
your dad.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was probably tougher for Scott because
Oh,
he
yeah.
was the son of a legend.
Right.
angler,
He has forged his own path.
Right.
He has, in every respect, developed his own techniques and his own career. And like, for example, he has done exceptionally well with the YouTube stuff.
He has.
He has gotten 300,000 subscribers now. He's just set the world on fire. It's gotten to the point where, as I walk through this Bassmaster Classic, the young generation, say the under 20 generation, come up to me now, just a few minutes ago, and say, "Aren't you Scott Martin's dad?"
That's so funny. Instead
Because,
of
what's your name? Oh, Roland Martin. Yeah, you're Scott Martin's dad. So
Oh, I love
that's how far the social media has gone.
Right.
And you're way into the middle of it. You know how it is.
Right.
And so it's something that I'm in my 70s now. I'm trying to develop my social media and get it up to standard. It's not quite there yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's a tough deal.
I love it. Aren't you Scott Martin's dad? That's,
Yeah, aren't you Scott
Yeah,
Martin's dad?
9-time Angler of the Year here
That's
is
it.
Scott Martin's dad. But anyway, hey, we got some more joining in. Jose from Costa Rica. And that's the cool thing about social media. You know, it's global. All kind of people joining in. We've got people watching worldwide right now. We appreciate you guys joining us. Any other questions? We got a few more minutes with Roland here. So if we have another question coming in, you guys send it on. Roland, you're still competing some.
I do,
Last year,
yeah, Tim. I had the option last year to come back on the Elite Series trail because there was a new law, a new rule that came up called the Legends category. And I didn't have the funding last year, and I didn't have the time to do it, so I passed on it. I said, well, no, I think what I maybe will do, I might fish it this year, the 2018 series. But then it didn't come available because a couple of the guys used up those 2 exemptions.
Right.
So maybe next year, who knows? I'm in my 70s, and I really don't have any business fishing the Elite Series other than it would be just something neat to do.
Yeah.
I mean, for my own personal satisfaction, I don't know if I could compete quite like I did 40 years ago. I don't think I could win another Angler of the Year. I don't know if I could even win the Classic, but I could have a lot of fun trying. And I know that I'm still competitive because on some of the tournaments that we've had on the Eastern and Southern divisions right now, and I'm signed up for, there were some that I placed in the top 10, several that I placed in the top 5. And so I'm fishing against the pros. I'm fishing with all the guys in the Elite Series. I mean, the whole top 20 are pretty much elite guys. So I know that I can compete in the arena.
Yeah.
Not every tournament, maybe, but there's some tournaments I can compete.
Well, I can tell you physically, too. I've watched him hear a gobbler up on the hill, and this was only a few years ago. And he's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And you're watching Roland walk up the hill, and his calves look like he's 20 years old, just built like he was 40 years ago. So I know physically you can still do it.
I can do it, yeah. I can
just absolutely a legend of the sport. Roland, I literally, when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, and this tells you what fishing can do for tourism for an area. But I can remember watching your shows and dreaming of someday going to Lake Okeechobee. I mean, you were fishing Lake Okeechobee, and you always had this saying, Lake Okeechobee is alive and well. And it just would grab you and make you feel like you were there and wanted to be a part of that magical place, and it really did.
Well, by the way, for the audience, you've done extremely well on Lake Okeechobee. You won a couple tournaments there, so you know all about Lake Okeechobee, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You've done well with that lake, but you've done well on a couple lakes. You're a versatile fisherman, and that's what it's all about.
All right, we got a teaching question here. Jesus writes, what is your favorite weight, style, and worm color for stained water in less than 10 feet of water?
You know, I have such a hard time because you travel from Connecticut to California, and you have to look at the 297 green pumpkin color in any situation. I'm not saying what lake it's going to be, but if you just don't know where to fish and what color to throw, you got to start off with that 297 green pumpkin. That's the number one color.
Is that the Yamamoto? Help them out here.
That's Yamamoto's number one seller.
But that's what that color is, 297.
297 green pumpkin. That's the most standard color. If you ever want to just have to figure out where to go from there, you might want to change colors, but that's the first thing to try. The second thing is the 5-inch Cinco is the number one size worm around. I mean, I use the 6-inch and I use the 4. I use all different kind of worms. But just to start with, you just got to have a 5-inch 297 to start. Try a lot of different colors. Right now, I'm going to a lot of blue tip tails, and I'm going to a lot of different sizes. I'm changing around a lot. But I start off with the 297 green pumpkin.
And Jesus, what that is, it's a Gary Yamamoto Cinco. You can find those at BassPro.com in the green pumpkin color. I believe you told me a story that machine never quits running.
That's right.
In that one color for
well, they have like 10 or 11 big giant machines that are just going like 40 every few seconds. 40 things come out. 40. And that one machine is a 297 5-inch green pumpkin. It's
never
just going 40.
That's pretty cool.
365 days a year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, we got another question here, one more, and then we're gonna wrap up with Roland. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone getting started in high school tournaments?
Oh, okay. That high school thing is really a big deal, and Johnny Morris has such a vision and coming out with that new heritage boat that's kind of geared to that high school market. Those high school kids can save their money up and get a $10,000 boat now, maybe with some help with the summer jobs and their parents. But the main thing about the high school teams right now, it's set up where they can start and participate at an early age, and they're getting, the format is basically the father or some older person will have the boat, and they have the insurance, and they drive the boat. So that takes the pressure off, legal pressure off, the two younger kids having a problem with the boat wreck or having a problem with insurance. So that kind of gets them started. That puts an elderly or a person that is responsible now in the boat. And that's even a better situation than just say two young kids getting together to fish, because they're getting some advice from this. So that high school thing is just a win-win thing. It's getting the new generation into fishing in a big way. I can see it snowballing. And that's where Johnny Marsh is coming from.
Yeah, it is. And taking a look at it, we got the Heritage boat here. I don't know if we can see it here. Yeah, we can see it from our set. We're actually going to give this away on Sunday, so just a really cool deal. But I know we were at the Bass Tracker dealer meeting this summer where they showed this boat, and to me this was the coolest thing, taking that nostalgic pattern of the Bass Tracker logo that started it all with the browns and the tans, and putting it in a modern boat. And putting the price tag on it, it was just absolutely amazing. Now, you guys had some fun with the skit where you had to do some mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
I got some phone pictures. I can't show them here on the thing, but I got some monster bass this last 2 weeks. I caught out of that Tracker boat.
Out of the Heritage boat.
I had some bass 9 pounds, 8 pounds. We've done a bunch of film work. It's a great little boat. I got a cameraman in there and another guest, and we'll go all around the lake. Yeah, and we'll catch. I've had 10-pound bass in the live well. It does a good job.
I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they had a couple of these set up. I think they said they sold 11 of them at that one boat show. And I walked around this boat, and I'm shaking my head and thinking, how is this boat priced for what it is? It's just an amazing value, and the width of the beam on it, everything about it is just phenomenal. The very first time I went fishing in a fishing boat, my next door neighbor had a Bass Tracker, and it's just it's just cool to see the nostalgia of how far this brand has come. The #1 selling fishing boat.
Well, when it first came out at $39.95, I had one not that first year, like the second year, and I fished out of it. But see, this one's a little bit bigger now. It's got a welded seams in it, no rivets. It's got a 40 horsepower instead of a 25, so it's an upgrade to the $39.95. But in today's money, in today's market, this $99.95 is a better deal than the $39.95 was 40 years ago. It's actually a better deal for the dollar.
Right. I told Johnny he must be giving the boat away because the engine costs that much with what we're doing. But hey, we're having a lot of fun. We're going to wrap this up. Roland, I can't thank you enough. Just seriously, personally for me, striking that in me to have a passion for turkey hunting that I enjoy. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to have some fun with you and Jimmy on stage tomorrow. We're going to have a little turkey calling contest. Okay. So I'm giving you a heads up. Okay. You guys be sure and tune into that. It's going to be really cool. But cool. I'm going to bring me a little slate. Okay. And we're going to see who's got the best turkey call.
We'll do that.
So anyway, I appreciate it, Roland.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.